Previously on Gearz.
What a beautiful song. Francis Ruffelli and Lonely Symphony. It is Gearz, Balls Visual Radio. Time to talk a little bit of Formula One. We look forward to the Chinese Grand Prix, which takes place this weekend. And it is Red Bull at war. Had you watched the show last night, Daisy, you would have seen our insert about Red Bull at war. But clearly you didn't. Candace Hansen said she was busy, but did manage to watch the show.
Okay,
That's called dedication.
I'm very dedicated. Do you know how much I've learnt about Formula One since I started working? And I'm addicted to it.
That's awesome
but
news.
I just could not watch the show last night.
Okay, all right, enough now.
Please forgive me.
Shh. Okay, let's just have a little bit of a timeline. We had the Malaysian Grand Prix, and what happened was we had Sebastian Vettel ignoring some team orders. Daisy, you bending over?
Sorry.
In front of me. Holy cannelloni. Okay, let's get our thoughts back here. Sorry. So, there was, I can't think now. There was a Grand Prix. Yes, there was a Grand Prix and somebody... No. Okay, so Vettel ignored the team order. Multi-21, that's what it's called. Multi-21 means, okay, hold your positions, driver number 2 ahead of driver number 1 in terms of the number of the car. Do we understand this? Not in terms of the designation of the driver that you are the second best. Car number 1 is Vettel, car number 2 is Webber. So if it was the other way around, if Vettel was in front, they would have gone multi-12. Okay, they said multi-21. So afterwards, there was a huge furore. Everybody was very upset about the Grand Prix for two reasons. One, Vettel disobeyed the team orders. On top of that, third place man Lewis Hamilton had Nico Rosberg saying, listen, I can go faster, let me go past, but was given a team order, hey, do not go past Lewis Hamilton, we all have to save fuel, etc, etc, etc. So Lewis Hamilton wasn't happy on the podium. Webber was furious on the podium, and Vettel had a little bit of remorse. After the Grand Prix, Sebastian Vettel then went and apologized and said, I'm terribly sorry to Mark, I apologize to the team, etc., etc. And we all sat and went, okay, well, he sort of did the right thing. Now, he comes out yesterday. Sebastian Vettel says he would probably disregard team orders and pass Mark Webber again if the Malaysian Grand Prix situation was repeated. He does not believe the Australian deserved victory. Wow. Phew. Now, you've got to look at this. There is another thing that has just come out as well, and that is that Red Bull Racing have dumped team orders. They have scrapped their team orders after what happened with the Multi-21 at the Malaysian Grand Prix. Dr. Helmut Marko told the German newspaper Sportbild, there will be no more team orders by us. Now, the only thing that I can believe that has happened is that they've tried to get Mark Webber to understand the situation and said, listen, Mark, we're sorry about it, etc., etc. If something like this happens again, we will ensure that it doesn't take place. I believe Mark Webber has said, up yours. This is not going to happen the way that I want it to happen. I believe that Mark Webber has come out and said, listen, if that's the way Vettel wants to behave, then I will behave exactly the same way. I will not help him, and he doesn't have to help me, not that he's ever helped Webber. So, there is no love lost between the two of them. That's the way that I see it. And because of this, because Helmut Marko and Christian Horner and Dietrich Mateschitz have not been able to appease Mark Webber, Vettel has come out and said, well, you know what, bugger that then I'm just going to carry on the way that I've done it before. There are fireworks at Red Bull if these two guys are racing against each other, and I mean the word racing. If they are racing against each other, they will not give each other an inch, which could lead to some serious tears on the racetrack. Vettel is going to have to make sure he's way out of the way of Mark Webber, and Mark Webber the same way. But I think Vettel's the one who should be a little bit more concerned than that of Mark Webber. That's the only way that I can see it. is that they haven't managed to appease Mark Webber, and now Vettel has said, well, you know what, if that's the way that he wants to play, then I will play that as well. Staying on the team orders, Rosberg has come out and said it was a bit of a shock to him to get team orders at the Malaysian Grand Prix. I suppose it's quite a difficult one. Nico Rosberg is German. It's a German team. He would have expected them perhaps to allow him to pass Hamilton and get the podium and more points, but somewhere along the line it didn't work out his way. Whichever way it goes, if I'm in front and Lewis is behind, then he will respect it, and vice versa, then all is okay. Will this happen, and will Lewis Hamilton respect the team orders? This I would like to see, especially if we get further into the championship and maybe they have a chance of winning the race. I don't believe Nico Rosberg is going to play second fiddle. We saw he was very competitive in Malaysia, and I do believe that with having Lewis Hamilton in the team, it has definitely raised his game in terms of his ability. So watch out. I think we've got some great musical chairs and some great fun that will take place between the two Red Bull drivers and perhaps the two Mercedes-Benz drivers as well. Tanya says, Senna Prost saga of the new generation, who will run off whom off the track first? The difference, I think, between Senna and Prost and Webber and Vettel is Senna and Prost were both were competing for world championship titles, and were both world champions at the time. They were really as great as each other. So that was a bit of a problem, having such brilliant drivers together in the same team. You have a slight difference in Red Bull. Vettel is the better of Webber just purely by results, and you've got Hamilton is the better of Rosberg also purely by results. As the season progresses, will Webber be able to fight back and sort of avenge himself for the injustice he believes he received at the Malaysian Grand Prix? Earlier on, I mentioned they were racing each other. This is very, very important. A lot of people miss this fact from what happened in Malaysia. When Mark Webber came out of the pits after his second pit stop, his team basically said to him, cut your engine power, preserve the tires, and get the car home. Everything's okay. So that's what he did. This allowed Vettel to get closer. Then the team said, Vettel, hold your position, multi-21, that's all okay. So, in effect, Mark Webber was not racing Sebastian Vettel. He had already turned his engine down. Everything was under control. He believed this is how it's going to end. That was all great. As soon as Vettel started making the move on him, now all of a sudden he had to react. By this stage, he's calmed the car down. The tires are most probably not working the same that he wanted them to work. And all of a sudden, his whole race plan, and I'm talking about Webber's, goes out of the window. Had they been racing, Mark Webber would have won the race. It's that simple. Mark Webber would have come out of the pits, driven at 100% the whole way around, and he wouldn't have had any problems from Sebastian Vettel. The fact that he turned the engine down, slowed down fractionally, allowed Vettel to get closer to him to eventually perform the challenge and get past him. So, the way that I see it, Red Bull have complete disharmony amongst their drivers in Vettel and Webber, and this could well... it's still too early. We've only had 2 races. But this could have a detrimental effect on their challenge to win the World Championship yet again. More Formula One news. Of course, tomorrow we'll have a look at the Chinese Grand Prix. We'll have our Chinese Grand Prix quiz. And, of course, we'll have Gary Formato in as well. And by that stage, we will have the free practices from Free Practice 1 and 2. And we can choose our Super Brews tomorrow afternoon. I'm currently lying 1,146 out of 1,145 players. So not doing too well. I think Dies is doing better than me. Maz is doing better than me. I'm going to have to up my game this weekend.
Definitely.
I have a plan. We'll go through it.
Weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central African Time.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Gearz with Sasha Martinengo on bulls.co.za.